Alright, folks, so just a little morning rant and a statement, I guess, that since the Nevada legislature and the so-called leaders around here are deciding to go ahead and give the Desert Research Institute their $1.2 million for the next 2 years for cloud seeding efforts, so that they can fire up their little cloud seeders over there on the Mount Charleston and up through Red Rock and all that. Since we are well aware of that now, I would think that if their little efforts to seed a storm front that comes into the valley here end up causing any kind of property damage through, like, say, flash flooding, or if it generates some high winds, or if it just happens to trigger like a light storm and it does any kind of property damage, or God forbid any loss of life or mudslides. I mean, there's a whole bunch of new housing and everything going up there on Black Mountain. So, you know, if we get a storm front that comes through and that Desert Research Institute kicks on those cloud generators and they seed that storm front, and that storm front ends up creating a torrential downpour over there on Black Mountain, and it causes mudslides and houses go sliding down that hill, you know, I would think that we could hold the Desert Research Institute responsible for directly influencing a storm front, intensifying it, and making it worse. So, any of y'all that live down here in the valley, down here in Henderson and down in southern Nevada and up in through Black Mountain and up through the Red Rock and up in through Mount Charleston, or any of the areas here in southern Nevada, if we get a storm front that comes in from the west on that atmospheric river and they seed it and it ends up causing more damage, property damage, and God forbid loss of life, I don't see why we would not be able to hold the Desert Research Institute responsible, because they are directly influencing storm systems, manipulating and altering and influencing and injecting their little silver iodide with their cloud seeding generators. That is a direct influence on a storm system, and I would think we could hold them responsible. So, Desert Research Institute better hope that their little efforts in seeding storm fronts that come into the valley here don't cause any damage to our property, or God forbid loss of life in our little neck of the woods, because you better believe I will be making every attempt possible to hold them accountable and responsible, and they will pay for it. They're not going to get away with this shit anymore. Enough is enough. And the way they went about that with their little meeting, they were supposed to have a part 2 to that Ways and Means, where they were introducing that SB 99. Well, that video was still up. It got uploaded, but they never went live with it. And then the next thing you know, there's a part 3 popping up. And then the next thing you know, that bill ends up in the Senate. And they passed it. Everyone voted yes to give the Desert Research Institute their $1.2 million for the next 2 years to do their little cloud generating operations. So that's how they roll here in Nevada. And they were putting through bills last night, late night into the early morning, passing all kinds of crap here. And that's how they roll. They're very shady and they're very shameful here. And as far as this Desert Research Institute goes, y'all go ahead and you do your little cloud generating and your little seeding operations. You just better hope that your little efforts to influence and intensify these storm systems don't come down here and do damage to our property, or God forbid loss of life, because I will spend every amount of energy that I have to make sure that y'all are held accountable. Period. Game on, folks.